well. But to get a free consult for your child, gets answers for your specific child, that'd be great. But if you do have questions, please utilize the Q&A feature, and we will try and get to as many of the questions as possible. And with that, let's get it going.
Yeah, welcome everyone. We have a great group tonight.
Yeah, so just wanted to give you a little bit of background on AKALA. We have a combined 70 years of college admissions counseling experience amongst the founding team. It was originally started by Barbara. It was called the Princeton Education Network in Princeton, New Jersey. I then expanded it with Ori, and we expanded it to New York, LA, then globally. We became the consultants for Lee's and 5 CEOs. Quoted in just about every news on the field. And we were also cast as 2 of the stars of the hit Netflix documentary Operation Varsity Blues. We should always note that we were on the ethical side, but they cast us because of our experience in the field. And we're backed by some of the biggest names in education, from Google to USC. If you know the tech world, Techstars and GSV are 2 of the biggest names out there as well. And with that, we're going to get into the top 5 mistakes that families make on their journey to college. And we'll start with Ori.
Yeah, number 1, a big one, starting too late. Sadly, most kids that we end up working with and are starting in the back half of junior year, sometimes senior year, they've missed out on massive opportunities to expand their college profile, become a better applicant, take advantage of things like merit aid and scholarships. So we ideally would love to work with them sometimes as early as 7th, 8th grade and really get their minds going about a pathway and career and path to college. But often freshman and sophomore year, where we can encourage them to be taking, we'll talk a little bit about course rigor, but be on the honors track if that they are going that path, where you can just become the perfect college candidate. So starting too late, huge mistake that families and students make.
Yeah, one thing that we like to talk about is finding your lane. College is really, at this point, which is a real bummer, we acknowledge, but it is the way it is. Colleges want specialized kids. So you can't, in the old days, right, you could be an arts and then say, I want to be a computer scientist. Okay. You be a computer science major, you better have find them for your child.
Yeah, a little bit of a lag there in the connection, but yeah, just finding your lane with a college is absolutely critical. A lot of colleges want to fill those aspects of their college that they really want. So if you are going the research route, medicine, find things to do in your lane, and we could do that by starting early.
Or can you hear us? He was okay. Igor, fast forward.
Let's wait for the connection to just reestablish.
Just happened.
Yeah, I'm not sure what everyone heard, but I filled in some of the blanks.
Yeah.
Zoom.
I heard my name, so I guess I'll introduce myself. I'm Igor Zuckerman. I'm a CEO of Eureka Wealth Solutions. We're a wealth management company in New York. We'll talk a little bit more about us later on, but we are partnering with AKALA to provide you with all-around solutions, basically a one-stop shop of preparing students as well as preparing parents for the college. And the most common question we get from parents is, well, how much is it going to cost, which is kind of the obvious question. So we'll start with that. You can see the cost of college in front of you based on the type of college. Keep in mind, this is an average cost. So if you're looking at some of the high-end private schools, you're looking at significantly higher than the average, which is sitting just under $60,000 a year. We're talking about $85,000 a year at the top. But and this is just for 1 year, obviously. And the other thing to take away from this chart is that it's definitely upward sloping, and in fact, it's growing much faster than, let's say, inflation or potentially your paycheck. Historically, it's been growing at about 6% a year. So keep that in mind. Can we go to the next slide, please? So in terms of paying for college, there are a couple of different ways, or I would say buckets of how people would pay for college. The first thing that obviously comes to mind is financial aid, which is, there are 4 types of financial aids. As you can see, scholarships, which hopefully your child can get. It's merit-based and you do not have to repay it. Grants, which are need-based, and you also don't have to repay it. Work study provides your students an ability to earn part-time on campus. Again, don't need to repay that. And loans. Loans are different types by students and parents. We'll touch on that a little bit later on. Those do need to be repaid, hence the word loans. And what you can see on the right side is the chart of where the money for college usually comes from. And as you can see, more than 50% will have to come from family income and savings. And this is where we want to prepare parents for. Can we go next slide, please? So this chart tells you specifically from what savings vehicles they come from. And as you can see, the largest one, about 30%, comes from 529 plan. We'll talk about that in a little bit. There are several others like Coverdale, which you may or may not have heard of, prepaid state plan. But when you look on the right, you see the savings account, checking account, you see investment account, CDs even at 5%. Let me tell you, these are the ones that have not prepared. And this is the reason a firm like mine offers a service like we do, and this is why I have a job. The fact is, there are many different ways where the savings can come from, but our government, like it or not, provides certain tools for you to save for college that has a number of advantages, like 529 plan. And the more you use those, the more money you save for college as well as for your other plans. And this is why we're talking today. And so if we're talking about in the context of starting late, plans like 529 plans, and again, we'll talk about it in a little bit, you can start as soon as the child is born. In fact, you can even start before that. So there's no too early to start, but there's definitely some late stages. So the closer you get to college, the more time you miss to potentially have an advantage to save for college. Back to you guys.
Yeah, fantastic information, Igor. Thank you. Our next big mistake that families and students make is course rigor. Are you taking the most challenging courses available to you in school? You know, just very quickly, we were speaking to the Yale admissions advisors. They had 46,000 applicants last year. They had to fill 2,300 spots. They narrowed that down to about 8,000 of people who would walk into Yale. But how are those people differentiating themselves? We'll talk about differentiating next, but one big way is course rigor. The reality is that, you know, if your kid is not taking those advanced level classes, they're not going to get in that little pool of 8,000 that Yale is considering, or any other school, not necessarily just Yale. So you don't want to give them a reason to deny your application.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Always take the most challenging course load that's available. And just a quick note on that, you will only be judged on your school. So if your school only offers 4 APs, but the next school over offers 25, the kid who took what they want to know is, did you take the most challenging course load available at your school? So that's the key there. All right, the next place where this is arguably the most important one, where families miss huge opportunities is with differentiating themselves, or I should say, kids miss opportunities is differentiating themselves from their peers. If I were to poll everyone on this Zoom right now, I would promise you that all 100+ of you would tell me that your kid's involved in one of the following 8 activities. We call them the classic 8, which is debate, model Congress, model UN, trial, robotics, orchestra / band, sports, and business ones, DECA / FBLA. Okay, and 100% of you would tell me that your kid's involved in at least one, if not multiple of this. And so then I would say to you, well, do you think that we got lucky here? We got the group of kids who happens to do those activities? Or do we think everybody's doing those activities? And if everyone's doing those activities, why would we choose your kid to come to our school? So we love those activities, just to be clear, but you've got to find ways to layer on top of it, differentiating activities, community service, and experience, things that you're doing. It's going to make an officer go, admissions officer go, oh, I rarely see this kind of a kid. And so differentiating is just a real big one for us. Where do you do it is extracurriculars and community service, right? Those are the big, and summer experience, which Ori will talk about, but those are the big ones, the big places where you could really learn to differentiate yourself. Differentiation, guys, by the way, is the third of our big 3 pillars. The other 2 speak to what Ori spoke to, the first one speaks to what Ori spoke to earlier, which is starting early. Commitment. This is the first pillar. Are you doing a lot of something over time? If you just showed up senior year and you signed up for the business club, that's not showing a school that you're actually interested in business. Yeah. But if you've been doing business related activities all the way through, that's commitment. The second one is depth. Are you going deeper than surface level? I mentioned before, kids come to me all the time and say, I want to study computer science. And I say, well, great, what have you done? They say, oh, well, I took AP computer science. Say, okay, what else have we done? And that's it. AP computer science is the table stakes, guys. No, but you're not going into any fancy computer science program with just AP computer science. You've got to show that you've gone deeper. Have you learned multiple coding languages? Have you built your own projects? So you worked for a startup? Like, there's a million different ways that you can show depth in whatever your interest category is. But that's the second biggest pillar for us. And then the third one is that differentiation piece. And with that, Ori, we'll talk about the summer.
Yes, and a big period of time where you could engage in commitment, depth, and differentiation is in your summer when you have all this free time. We know vacation's important, but there's so much time outside of those moments where you're just having fun with friends and family and resting from the school year. You could be getting involved in really great research camps. It's a great time for community service. On our platform, we have a whole host of ideas that you could be just doing from home that count as community service. And we also just love coming up with those for our students. And also, this is a great time for dual enrollment, getting ahead. It's important to ask your counselor first how they sanction dual enrollment. But you could be taking classes at a local community college that can free up a lot of your, let's say, junior year to take a lot of APs. You could also just be expanding your profile by showing a college that, wow, this student took all this time during the summer to really expand their skills. Oh yeah,
Sorry,
and
Igor, this
yeah,
one's for
and
you. Sorry,
sure.
I was
yeah.
muted.
Yeah, and speaking of summer, summer is also a good time for parents to consider how they're paying for college. Believe it or not, throughout the year, in my experience, most adults worry about paying bills and doing taxes and their investments. Summer is the time most people don't want to think about money matters, but this is also a good time to think about college. And going back to what I was talking about before, to consider how you're going to save for college, which is one of the aspects of it, is this chart right here. What you need to think about is what are the benefits as well as potential disadvantages of various options that are out there. And this is a sample list. It's actually probably not full, but this is the most important stuff that you need to worry about. The biggest benefits that you can get from various plans that are being set up by government, federal, and state is whether or not you get a preferential income tax treatment on these accounts where you put money to save, as opposed to, let's say, your checking and savings account or your regular brokerage account, which do not carry any of those. In addition to that, there is state income tax treatment. To give you an example, for a 529 college savings plan, which we'll talk about in a second, depending on which state you live in, you may get a tax break. For example, if you live in New York, up to $10,000 of contribution to this plan every year is written off for married couple. In New Jersey, I believe it's $2,000 a year. Same in Massachusetts. But again, if the state doesn't have an income tax, you will not get that. But depending on which state you're in, that could be an extra advantage that most other plans will not have. And then, of course, I'm not going to go through the entire list, but you can see there is a number of different things in here, including all kinds of restrictions, all kinds of investment choices. What are the qualified expenses that you can use your investments for, and what can you do with expenses that are not qualified? And on the right, you just have a list of different accounts, and it's okay if you've never heard of half of them, or if you see some of them like traditional IRA, and you're wondering how can it help with college? This is why we're here. So if we go to the next page, this is a matrix that we came up with that basically goes across all these different benefits and disadvantages and different types of investment vehicles. I apologize, I know it's hard to see. So we'll provide a link in the chat where you can download it. This is for you. Don't try to Google it. You're not going to find it anywhere else, at least not in this format. Don't try ChatGPT either. But look at it, and it's pretty comprehensive. Feel free to talk to us about it if you have any questions. So moving on, 529 plan specifically, I do want to spend a minute or two on this. This is not universally the best option for most parents, but it's one of the better ones, all things being equal. What it does is allows you to save for college with a number of these tax advantages, both from federal perspective and from state perspective. I'm not going to go through all these features again, but as you can see, it allows you to save for college, and in fact, in some states, allows you to even pay for tuition for private schools, K to 12, not in New York and New Jersey, in case you're wondering, but in some other states. It has obviously state tax benefits. I just mentioned some of those. One question that we often get is, any of those plans, what happens when we apply for financial aid? It's going to count as income, so what's the point? Well, the point is that colleges actually know, and so is the general FAFSA application, which we're not going to have a lot of time to talk about today. But if you're applying for financial aid, all these plans will get a favorable treatment. Again, better treatment than just money sitting in your checking or savings account. And another question we'll often get is, what happens if you go over? If you have money left over, what do you do with it? In my opinion, 529 plan allows you the largest number of options. And in fact, there were some new laws passed in the last couple of years that allow you even more options, and some of them are listed here. Let's take a look at the next slide. So even though we're not talking about financial aid generally, no conversation about college is complete without talking about loans. And unless you've been living under the rock, you probably know there's been a lot of controversy about loans lately. This is, in a nutshell, what you need to know about loans. Federal student loans, as opposed to private loans that are given by banks and credit federal unions and other institutions. Federal student loans are divided in these 4 different types. The first one is the direct subsidized loan. It's based on financial aid, and this is going to student, which is the one that you don't have to repay until at least 6 months after you graduate from, after you actually get a degree. And at that point, it will reset based on the interest rate. And so you can see on the right, these are the interest rates that you get. This is the most favorable student loan a student can get. And even though you can get a huge amount and struggle paying it later, compared to other options, this is your best option. Because the other options are unsubsidized, in which case, as the name suggests, you have to repay it essentially right away, just like mortgage or auto loan. You take it and you have to start paying back immediately. The plus loans are the ones that are usually for graduate students or for parents. Those can be a little bit bigger. The problem with them also, you have to repay them right away, and usually the interest rates are higher. Again, you can see it on the right. And the consolidation loans are usually given to you at the end, when you can combine multiple loans into one, typically to lower your rate a little bit. So this is, in a nutshell, what you need to know about loans. Typically, you want that to be essentially your last option. You do want to prepare early. You want to save. You want to get some financial aid. And believe me, there is a number of different strategies you can also use for financial aid. Not going to get into that today, but happy to provide more information on a consultation as well as on our website.
Yeah, and I'll just
Back to
throw
you guys.
a quick tip in there, which is that guys, always fill out the FAFSA, even if you're not gonna, even if you're planning on paying college, paying for college yourself. Oftentimes merit aid, they will only grant it to you if you filled out your FAFSA. And so, yeah, just fill out the FAFSA. They've made it marginally easier than it used to be. It's still pretty annoying, but just a good tip for you to just always fill out the FAFSA.
I agree with that. And in case you're not familiar, the process has been in place for over 20 years. It completely got overhauled about a year and a half ago. The application may be easier to fill out, but there are different parts of it that you need to know about in order to maximize your financial aid. And it's true. If you don't ask, you're not going to get any. So it's free to fill out. You have to do it every year. Some schools may also ask for CSS, which is it's a profile in addition to FAFSA, but that's all part of the overall financial aid conversation.
Yeah, I saw a question here that said, is this per semester? I think that might have been for a former slide about the tuition. Those tuitions were on an annual
Those
basis.
annual,
So
right.
just to answer that question. Okay, so guys, we've arrived at the final place where families mess up, although Ori, we're gonna call it 5.5. Ori's gonna have one more at the end. But this is the last place where kids and families can really make a mistake, and it's college fit, making sure that the college that your kid attends is the right fit for you. Right now, I'm at a big education conference right now in Boulder, Colorado. So I went today and I did a whole video about the University of Colorado in Boulder. CU Boulder, as it's known. This is a huge school, guys. You're talking 40, 50,000 kids, right? If that's not the right environment for your son or daughter, then they shouldn't be here, right? I went to a school called Williams College. There was only 2,000 kids. Or he went to a school called Lafayette. There was, I think, 5 or 6,000 kids. Size is a big deal. Okay, if 2,000 kids, I mean, there's some high schools in America that are bigger than that, right? So a lot of kids are like, I don't want to go down to small, tiny, teeny weeny school. But you got to make sure that you're finding the right fit. Money, obviously, a big one. You know, you have to make a decision. We had a girl who got a boy who got a full ride to Tulane presidential scholarship. He also got into Dartmouth. He got into Johns Hopkins, right? One's an Ivy League, one's one of the top science universities in the world. Each of those schools gave him $0 in aid. So he had a choice. He went to Tulane. Why would he graduate with $300,000 in debt when he could just graduate with 0 debt from an amazing university? Which I will jump over community to rankings for a second, because that conversation right there is what it really came down to. And us convincing him that the rankings are total BS. We hate the rankings, guys. And I went to Williams College. We have a number 1 in front of us. I feel more than qualified to tell you that those rankings are completely ridiculous. Okay, we have a crisis in privilege in America. A lot of families will come to us and say, I'm not going to go to a school that's ranked 180th. 180th. There's 3,300 colleges in America. That means you're in the top 5% of education in America. That's how good we have it here with a crisis of privilege. So please ignore the rankings. Focus on what's the best school for your child. Okay, if you want it to go into aeronautical or astronautical space, right? Engineering, you know where you should go? Right here. CU Boulder. I just went to the engineering school. Unbelievable. I couldn't believe my eyes when I was in there. You know where you should not go? Williams College, which is with its number 1 ranking. You know why? We don't even have an engineering school. So you've got to make sure the best school in the country is not a school that some dumb magazines decided was number 1 or 5 or 10 or 30. The best school in the country is a school where your kid is going to thrive academically, socially. You see their academic and community. And really that's the place where you should be seeking, and you should be seeking 15-ish of those schools. So that's the last one there. Give this up, and Ori's gonna give you one more warning.
Yeah, we got a bonus and also a great quote from one of our colleagues in the field. You make your own rankings. So the kind of 5.5 mistake everyone makes is advice on social media. I mean, we could go into advice you get from friends, family, but the most seductive is social media. On TikTok, we're on TikTok at Your College Guru. Please follow us because we're one of the good ones. We tell you honestly, we tell you straight about college. We don't mess with you with fear and all these things. And this essay got me into Harvard. No, it didn't. A lot of these people are just after clicks and likes and to strike fear in you so that you follow them. So just be careful what advice you get. Talk to experts like us. Do your background research on the information that you're reading. It's so important because you could be wasting hours in the college process based on the incorrect information that you get. So there's your last mistake.
Absolutely. So we'll just tell you a real quick tour of AKALA. It's a really cool program. The way we work is we meet once a month with your student and we onboard them onto our award-winning platform here. Everything's organized into the categories colleges consider when evaluating a candidate. So classes, extracurriculars, community service, summer experience, etc. What makes AKALA so powerful is that everything's customized to you. When you go to click add classes, these will be all the classes at your specific high school. We also have you take these super simple team-friendly surveys. You tell us what's interesting to you, up will come all the clubs at your specific high school that have anything to do with the categories that you told us you were interested in. So in this case, right, this kid was into music. here are the music clubs at her specific high school. Community service, same thing. You take the survey, you tell us where you want to help the world. We'll produce music, sports, and visual arts options for you to start to enhance your community service part of your profile. Same thing with college majors. You know, for us at AKALA, we want you to actually build your college list in grade 10. Now, I know there's some juniors on here. That's okay. Let's get you building your list right away so that you can get to our grade 11 curriculum, which is to actually write the essays for the schools. But we want you to come up with your college list as early as possible. We have you take this, again, simple, teen-friendly survey and tell us what's interesting to you. A lot of kids don't realize, they tell us they want to major in computer science. They don't realize that all of these majors that fall under this giant umbrella of computer science, or the giant umbrella of engineering or business or whatever. So we have you take that survey, and then as counselors, because we're meeting with you once a month, we start to populate schools based on your GPA, based on your ambition, based on your interests that are really good at the categories where you're likely to major, right? So that's a really cool part of our program and our platform. And like I said, in the junior year, we want you to actually start writing your essays as a junior. Most kids wait till senior year. That's unnecessary, and it's what leads to a lot of the stress. And we also want for the younger kids for you to start exploring and nurturing your interests. We have TED Talks and YouTubes and graduation speeches, all curated by categories. If you tell us you're into business, up will come 6 pages of TED Talks on business. So getting you exploring what's out there in the world beyond math, English, history, science that you're doing in school. We have a whole journal entry section, so that allows us as counselors to get to know your kid, and really understand what makes them tick, and that helps us to give the advice on their profile. You have the ability to message us any time you like between this. We can message directed to parent, directed to student, or to both, which is a cool feature of AKALA. And with that, I'll pass it to Igor to tell you a little bit about Eureka.
Right. So to introduce Eureka Wealth Solutions, as I mentioned, we are a wealth management company. We're based in New York, but we are remote and we work with you in any of the 50 states. Just a few words about us. We're a fiduciary, which means we put your interests first, which means if there's a conflict of interest, we disclose it, but we typically don't have any. We don't sell products. Everything is fee only, and we're a registered investment advisor. We specialize in financial planning, so the focus would be on college planning and retirement planning. We also specialize in thematic and impact investing, which is a whole different subject, but I'm happy to talk about that as well. You see all the other things that we do that some of them definitely we think set us apart. A few words about me on the next slide, please. So I am the CEO and the Chief Investment Officer of the company. I have over 25 years of industry experience. A lot of it comes from Wall Street. So that's my pedigree. Hopefully that tells you I know what I'm talking about. On to the next page, just a little bit about our financial planning process. For most people, it's a little bit of a black box. Most people, when we start talking about, I'm not sure whether this is something they really need. A lot of people think they need to have a lot of money to plan. But in reality, almost anybody we talk to could use some of it. It depends, obviously, on your situation. So the way we approach it is we start with your goals and your values, which is to say most people would have their retirement as the number one goal, college planning, and potentially buying your first home, the second and third, or third and second, depending on the number of kids and the college you go to and the type of house in terms of expenses. So when you put just 3 of these goals together, it takes a lot of planning to get it right. And the value of it is not only hopefully you save a lot of money doing that through various strategies, but it also gives you a peace of mind. As you can see, this is one of the example charts on the right of what happens with your cash flows based on different situations, different what if scenarios, and different goals. In reality, you may have a ton of other goals: opening a business, helping somebody else open a business, travel more, hobbies, charities, and a ton of other things that you probably don't even think about. The way that you can plan it all out gives you the peace of mind for the next 10, 20, 30 years. You know, um, where the money is coming from, where it's going, how you're going to get there, and what happens if you get off track. What are the backup options? And that's essentially our plan. Back to you guys.
Cool, so we'll open it up for questions. A few questions came in. First one I'm seeing here is, should my son is a junior, should he take the SAT? Or I'll add or ACT. Yes, the short answer is yes, you 100% should take the test. First of all, a lot of merit aid gets decided on the SAT for a lot of the big schools out there. So if you can get a great score, you can get more merit aid. But also, again, in the world of differentiation, a lot of kids, when schools are test optional, are opting not to take the test. And that's a way for you to differentiate yourself from them if you can get a great score. So please put your effort in. I always tell kids, look, you're really lucky. When we were applying to college, if you didn't get a score, guess what? You didn't apply. And that, today, lucky for you, although a lot of schools are going back to the test, there's still a ton of schools that are test optional. And what a wonderful world it is that you could not do as well on the exam as you would have liked and still have a shot at getting in. Okay, but you got to go put in and give it your absolute all. It can be a real differentiator for you, and it can get you that merit aid as well. Or did you say there were some other questions?
Yes. Is junior year, senior year too late? Not at all. We have curriculum for any point in the college journey. So please just set up a free consultation. We'll discuss more on what we can do for your student. We have a lot of students who come to us right now, senior year, and we're like, all right, let's get to work. So don't be discouraged. We always love for you to start early, but please, friends and family, just let them know we are available.
I'm seeing one about pre-college programs. Great question. Here's what our stance is on pre-college programs. So just so you know, for those who are not familiar, almost every college in America at this point is offering. It's like high school programs. It's a big money maker for them. These are oftentimes very expensive programs that run $3,000 for a week, $10,000 for like 2 weeks. Very expensive. What I always describe as a pre-college program is it's a great feather in your cap, but it cannot be your crown, right? So do them. Great way to get on campus, get exposed to college professors, get exposed to an area of study that you definitely will not be getting in high school. So we love that, but you have to know that colleges are not valuing those the way that I personally think they should, but they're just not. So do them, feel free to enjoy them, but you've got to make sure you're layering other things in your profile, because that's simply just one component of a bigger story about computer science or math or history or whatever your lane is. Or you see, here. Is it smarter to go to a cheaper university for 2 years and then transfer? Oh, great question. I love that question. We love that move, guys. A lot of at this point in the game where colleges are so expensive, as I always like to talk about USC, which is one of the schools that backs us, so we love them. But man, paying $90,000 to take Econ 101 when you want to be a computer scientist, that seems insane to me. So to go to a 2-year school, get your general education requirements out of the way, and transfer into the 4-year, really focus on your major. I think it's a great move. The only thing you have to be careful of is that kids, they have a concept called summer slide, where kids start to really like, the summer before college, they start to lose motivation. You just have to make sure that doesn't maintain those 2 years. They've got to maintain a high motivation. They've got to get a high GPA. Okay, so if you're sitting there with like a 3.0 GPA, it's gonna be very hard to transfer into the more prestigious 4 years. So, but love that question, great question, and we are huge proponents of that move. So you have our endorsement, that's for sure. All right, cool. I tried to keep it to 45 minutes. It's 46, which I think we did a pretty good job. Just a couple quick things. Again, we do offer a free consultation. So here's the QR code for that. Igor also offers a consultation. He has a much cooler looking QR code than we do. Man, we're gonna have to work on our QR codes. That's Igor's QR code. If you want to get any advice on the finance part, we by the way, we are, please call Igor and get that advice on how to think about finances for college. Like, waiting till senior year, we see so many families do it. It's not the right move, I promise you. You want to be getting as far ahead of this as possible. Cool. And with that, let me see if there are any last second ones. Oh, wait, we have a couple more. Is it easier to transfer from another college than from a high school? Yeah, 100%. Well, okay, not 100%. Most of the time is the answer to that question. Getting into a 4-year school from high school is typically way harder. Okay, there are a handful of schools, Stanford, Harvard, where they're Princeton, like their transfer acceptance rates are like 1%. But then you have schools like, awesome schools, Georgia Tech, Florida, like these are schools that if you do like those rankings, right, they're in the top 30, top 35 schools that are, they've got transfer acceptance rates, Michigan, University of North Carolina, University of Virginia. These transfer acceptance rates are like 25 to 60%. So, but as an asterisk, you've got to go get that 4.0 GPA or 3.9, 4.0. It's really important. But yes, much easier to transfer if you go as we call it, get your general education requirements out of the way. Get a high GPA and then transfer in. Cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate you taking your time. Please take advantage of these 2 opportunities to get a free consultation for you and your family. For us on the college admission side, for Igor on the finance side. And feel free to email us if you have any questions along the way. And good luck to all your students on their journeys. And by the way, whether you use us or not, get advice from an expert. I promise you, it's a huge differentiator to be able to access people like us. So with that, I wish you a wonderful night and thank you for coming to our website.
Yeah, take care.